Hey, what's up? My name is Matt Workman, and in this video we're going to be making a tier list of the upcoming Unreal Engine 5.6 features from their public roadmap. So let's take a look at the different categories going on in our tier list. The top is S tier, and this is going to be max hype. So this is based on how much I personally am interested and hyped about using, testing this new features. Next is going to be A tier. This is something that I'm basically anticipating using daily, but it's not like the most exciting thing compared to S tier, which again is the top. Next one down is going to be B tier. I'm calling this optimal. You'll kind of see why in a little bit. These are just great quality of life changes and, flat to me, like hype-wise changes that are all good. Next is going to be C tier. This is just okay. I mean, all the updates, again, all of these features are amazing and great, but these are kind of like based on like personally how I feel about them. These ones are kind of like, mid, they're okay. I'm happy to see them, but they're not like, it's not the first thing I'm going to be doing or doing every day. And then finally, D tier. There is no F tier. Again, like I said earlier, all the features are really awesome, and they're going to be great for different people. But D tier for me is just that personally, I'm not using them. I'm not using them because no one uses every feature in Unreal Engine. I might not know that much about it. I might be too dumb to basically use that feature. It's too high level or it's something I don't specialize in. So really it's just stuff that like I'm not personally using, but I'm sure is still really cool. So let's get started. The first one is going to be Lumen hardware ray tracing, and I'm going to put that under optimal. Looking a little bit deeper into this, it looks like there's some like low-level optimizations that have been happening for the hardware ray tracing versus the software ray tracing mode, and this is just going to up performance, so this is an overall good thing. I do have a couple projects that do use software and hardware ray tracing for Lumen, so that's going to affect my projects in a positive way. Next up is going to be some Niagara. I'm not even going to pronounce the H word here. It looks like particles. So if you're doing fluid sims, smoke sims in like that program everybody uses, I would be using Houdini. It looks like there's some new optimizations to make that ready for runtime. I'm going to go ahead and put this, unfortunately though, in D for me. Not that this is a bad feature, it's just not one that I'm using at the moment. I don't even have Houdini installed. I don't really do a lot of fluid sims. I sort of think of that as like Alembic caches and being really humongous files and maybe like kind of an offline thing. But it looks like for the people that are using this type of simulation in Niagara and they're using it for runtime, that now it is performant enough to use that. So that's great for somebody, but not me. Next is virtual shadow maps, and this is going to go into the B optimal tier. I'm actually pretty happy about this. I wouldn't say hyped. It's not hyped, but anyway, upgrades to performance with Lumen and virtual shadow maps, that just makes performance better. So that's going to make all the apps that I make way, way better. And the latest one I'm working on is going to lean pretty heavily into Nanite and Lumen, and then of course virtual shadow maps. So I'm interested to upgrade my new camera building project that has lots of little detailed parts, upgrade this to 5.6 when it's in the full release, and see if performance is a little better. Next up is Substrate. So I'm going to be putting this, unfortunately, for D tier for me. Again, it's not that it's a bad thing, it's just a feature that I don't use. To clarify, this is a D for dumb. I am like not probably smart enough to be using Substrate. I just use really vanilla, basic Unreal Engine materials. I have my parameters. I do some fancy material function stuff, but I'm not ready for the next level of Substrate. I feel like from what I've seen, this is for car modeling with like gloss code and then like mixing and layering different types of materials all together. That's just not something I'm doing right now for performance, and I'm not doing like 8K renders at a movie render queue. So for me, I haven't really interacted with Substrate. Am I missing anything? You can let me know. But for me, that's a D. I'm not really using it at the moment. Moving on, we're looking at some first-person stuff. So I'm going to put this under OK. I really don't understand what this is for. I should probably just like read some documentation on it. I guess for first-person mode, you're supposed to have some amount of distortion or undistortion, or there's something different you're supposed to do to the models, like the hands and the guns, for a true first-person mode. I honestly don't know what that is. I'm putting it in OK. It's something I would look into. I'm not currently making any first-person games, but if I was, I would probably look into this. Next up is a cool depth of field mode, and that is going straight to the S tier. That is max height. So I'm probably mispronouncing it. This is the Petzval bokeh. This I've seen in real life, from real life cinematography on certain kind of like older vintage lenses. I feel like I've used this on like an old Canon still lens, had this type of distortion. I don't know exactly what it's from, But I remember when Unreal Engine added like 2 times anamorphic bokeh to the background or to the, to the post-process volume. That was amazing. And this is another really cool one. So it's kind of a mix of like circular spherical distortion with the bokeh. And this is just a cool look that I'm probably going to be leaning on should I be making any fun new renders coming out of 5.6. Definitely going to be using this. It's just a fun new toy. So after the new cool bokeh effects, we have the GPU Profiler 2.0. I'm going to put that under optimal. Kind of like the quality of life, system level stuff is all going to go under optimal, like optimized, optimal. I don't know, that's where it's going. To be honest, I don't really use the GPU Profiler very much, despite having made a couple different Unreal Engine apps and games that are live and out there. I kind of never make it to that phase. I just sort of make things, and however the performance is, I kind of just let it be there, unless there's something insane. I've had to do some memory stuff before, but maybe with the 2.0 version, it's so compelling, it's so cool that I'll actually take this apart and actually use it. I'm thinking maybe with my new project that again is like heavy Lumen, heavy Nanite, heavy virtual shadow maps, that maybe I'll have to look at, is that too many polygons? Am I using too much texture memory, that sort of stuff, though there's other ways of seeing that. Anyway, I'm not really using the Profiler as much as I should be, but 2.0, good to see that there's some updates to it. Maybe I'll check it out. Moving on, we're looking at some kind of experimental animation features. I'm going to put this under OK, kind of with the first-person stuff here. Gameplay transitions for cinematics. Okay, so looking a little deeper at this is experimental. This is from Greg Richardson, and it looks like this kind of mixes together with some of the motion matching stuff. And at the moment, it's not a feature I'm using because, or wouldn't be like trying out, because I'm not really making a third-person game where like this looks like this is going to really, be useful. Even a first-person kind of like gameplay RPG game, I'm not really making one of those where we have a traditional pawn that walks around. But it is cool to see this. I would like to see how this integrates, going from like cinematics to motion capture samples, so that would be kind of a fun thing to check out. But at the moment, not using it, but it is something that I would like to play with. So going back when I missed one here, we have sequencer organization. This is going under optimal. And again, looking a little bit more into this is from Greg Richardson. It looks like we have the ability to mute and solo tracks in sequencer, and there's just some more UI quality of life stuff happening there. Sequencer is like the most insane part of Unreal Engine. It's like taking all the features from like After Effects, the animation timeline, and then all the 3D features of Maya, putting those together and being like, you know what, all of this can happen in real time because it's a game engine. So it is a beast of a project to get sequencer under control. So anything that helps organize it with color coding and anything UI-wise and feature-wise that helps find the track you're looking for, make the changes you want, these are all good things. This is going under optimal again. So another sort of animation addition here is going to be motion trails. So I've seen a little bit of this. This is like what you would have in like Maya when you have like the hand animating. There's like an arc that kind of shows you the keyframe and where it's going to go. So it's kind of like a 3D keyframe plus like a transform. I'm going to add that to probably daily. If this is going to actually show up on the MetaHumans rig when I'm cleaning up mocap, it would be kind of cool to see like if I'm going to do like corrections and like getting someone's hands to touch a table or just interact with something, it'd be nice to see like the arc that hand is going to take. So I'm going to add that to my daily A tier list here, motion trails. Looking forward to it. Next is another kind of third-person gameplay feature here, the gameplay camera integration in sequencer, experimental. So I don't know exactly what this is, but it looks like they're cooking up a bunch of like, again, gameplay into sequencer and back and forth features here. Again, not making a game like that at the moment, but I am interested in that kind of tech overall. That's going to go into C tier for me at the moment. Next up, we have some retargeting. Okay, so retargeting goes immediately to S tier max hype. This is scaled proportioned retargeting. So one of my main focuses within Unreal Engine is motion capture for MetaHumans, and guess what? That requires a lot of retargeting. So looking at these changes, it looks like as you have a character that is much taller than another, especially in leg length, is that they have a system that allows you to kind of scale how far the feet move, right? So if I'm as tall as I am and I walk across the scene, my feet are going to go like a certain distance. If I then retarget to a smaller character, that character's feet are going to need to move, they're naturally going to move less, and so they need to get scaled up. So I'm interested to see how this looks. I usually retarget myself to a MetaHuman that's about my size, so I don't using this like a ton, but I am interested to see all of the new retargeting changes coming to 5.6. And another animation feature coming up here is relative time scaling for sequencer. I'm going to put that there. I'm not exactly sure what this is exactly. Looking closer, this looks like some sort of scaling abilities that you can do to clips in sequencer, mostly around audio to kind of sync for different languages, it looks like. Not a feature I'm using, but perhaps I feel like there's something in here that might be good for retiming mocap animation. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, it's going into optimal today. And back to the mocap retargeting world here, we have retarget operation stack. You know it already. This is going straight to the S tier max hype. New features for retargeting. I don't even need to see any more. I can tell from the graphic, it looks like we can turn off certain features like arm stretch and shoulder corrections and all the stuff that we want to tweak, per animation. Having a new visual UI for that, super cool. Max hype, looking forward to it. After that, we have some animation tools. I'm going to put both tween tools and sequencer curves under optimal. These are things that are going to just be quality of life upgrades when working with mocap data, cleaning it up, scaling it, I guess, and just doing any sort of animation fixes in Unreal Engine sequencer. Updates to that, love to see it. Next up is one of my favorites, is going to be Control Rig. This is going straight to the S tier. I'm going to have to reorganize these at the end here, but Control Rig physics sounds really cool. I've been building something called CamOp Simulator, where camera operators spin two physical wheels and it moves like a remote head, pan and tilt. But then real-world filmmakers put these gimbals essentially on all sorts of crazy stuff, and they're doing all sorts of physics while needing to keep the horizon and panning and tilting. Anyway, anything that can be done in Control Rig to give it a little bit more like interactivity, like physics with the world, or have gravity implemented and like inertia and swinging and stuff like that. That's tech that I'm always into, and that I can immediately put to work in CamOp Simulator to make my camera rigs more realistic. So anything in the Control Rig front that does something like that is super S tier for me. I would probably immediately start to try to build some new rigs with it. Moving on, I'm going to put Sculpt Morph Shapes into D. For me, I'm not making any custom characters. The word morph target kind of scares me. I never really got that far in my modeling, rigging career, and I still don't really make anything with morph targets. I know that a lot of people do, people that, again, make their own characters and know how to rig for morph targets. That's cool that you can make that in Editor now, possibly, but again, not for me, so sorry, D tier. Next up is Geometry Crash. I'm gonna have to go look up what this even means. So I looked into it. This is from Chase Cooper, and I still don't quite know what this means. Base skeletal mesh animation to geometry cache. I'm not sure what that's for, so unfortunately that's gonna go to D tier just because I don't know what it is, and I'm certainly, in my workflow, just not using any geometry crash stuff. And now we have one of the more internet famous features coming up. This is the Rig Locomotor. Rig Locomotor. So here you'll see in the public roadmap a little GIF of a wolf walking around, and his feet are IKing to this rock, right? That sort of thing has been seen before, but the creator of this node, or one of the creators, I think it was Kieran Ritchie, put this on Twitter, and they have an even better clip of it. And so you basically take, say, this wolf model, and then you're going to take the Rig Locomotor control rig node, which is massive, and then you take an IK, full body IK node, and you connect these. And what you can basically do is now just move the character around the world, and the Rig Locomotor is going to make their feet move around procedurally. And it has collision with the ground and rocks and obstacles. So it's a procedural animation for locomotion, like walking, Control Rig. That's all one node. I've tried to write one of these in the past myself for a VR VTuber thing I tried to make at one point. Didn't come out great, looked pretty bad. This looks awesome, and he made it exactly for one person, one creator in mind. They had a little bit of a dialogue on Twitter. Hopefully I'll show that here. So this one is max hype just because I want to see what gets made with it. I'm not sure I'm using anything for it at the moment, but I'm super interested to see what other people make with this node. It's like people spend years trying to write systems like this, and now you just have a node in Unreal Engine. That's just how everything works here. Getting to some real good stuff here. Everything about MetaHumans, for me, straight S tier. So, MetaHuman Creator plugin, beta for Unreal Engine, S tier. Again, MetaHuman Parametric Bodies, S tier. More options for the bodies is great. Ooh, so the one that is this MetaHuman one, I'm gonna throw this under optimal here. Now, it's MetaHuman, so I'm gonna move it to here. So this is going to allow for facial animation from a single camera or just audio. That's pretty awesome for somebody. However, when I'm doing motion capture, I'd still use a 12 mini, which I guess that's maybe the same feature set. So maybe this is a little higher. And I'm also interested in getting into some stereo facial mocap as well to be able to get more depth out of it. So you know what? I'll maybe move this up to daily. Never mind. This is daily. This is pretty high up there. I take it back. Yeah, this is pretty high up. If that's the system that I'm going to be using to capture my facial mocap for metahumans. So it's an A tier. Metahuman stuff, it always goes pretty high. Next, I'm going to go to Mutable here. So Mutable is a framework that I haven't had time to really get into. I've seen the videos about it. It's like, hey, Matt, here's something built into Unreal Engine that makes customizing, in-game metahumans easier, probably more performant, I don't know, something better. But I haven't done it. In Cinetracer 2, I have metahumans, though that needs a big upgrade, and you can switch the hair, you can switch the clothes, you can customize the clothes, and it's something built just for that. So I have my own, probably cursed version of it. So I need to learn about Mutable so that I can make my in-game character customization system better, but I haven't done it yet, but I am going to put it up there because it is something I need to get into. Moving on from character stuff, I'm going to go look at some streaming performance. So for me, I'm going to put this under D tier. Streaming performance, HLODs, like really big world systems, like level streaming and instances and stuff like that. I just don't personally build stuff that big because I don't really know how to use these systems, and I'm just like a solo developer. I build pretty small experiences. So both of the big open world level streaming features, that's just D tier for me because I don't use it. I'm sure for like Witcher 4 and like all the huge games that are being built with Unreal Engine 5, this is like for them. This is built for like these big streaming systems, but I'm not currently using it. Talking about another system that I'm not really using at the moment, I use it a little bit, is the whole procedural generation framework, PCG. So I use it a little bit in CamOps Simulator when there's like bigger maps. I will try to use that system to generate like splines and then have plants go along them and build them in a less hand-painted way. So I'm going to put the new updates to PCG. There's a lot. I only grabbed a couple. We have the ones to grass and micro scattering, and just overall performance of PCG is getting better, and there's new features coming. I'm using it a little bit. So for me, I'm just going to put that under OK. And same with Biome Core 2 here. That biome system is a little bit too spicy for me. I'm not making like an open world game where it's like, yeah, I need these level progression zones and everything like that. Mine are more like, I need a forest, let's put a road through it and have a car go through, and then I'm gonna, we'll film it. It's pretty basic, so I'm not using PCG to its fullest extent that it could be, but having more performance for it, that's cool. I have one project where I'll use a little bit of PCG. This is all the PCG stuff for me is going in C tier for OK. Next up is some like pipeline stuff, developer quality of life stuff. This is gonna go under optimization here. So again, I'm a solo studio. I don't really build for like all the consoles and mobile and all at once, and I'm not using a lot of C++, so I'm not rebuilding the engine constantly. However, there's new optimizations for this, like the build accelerator that helps you build from code much, much, much faster. I've done that like a couple times. So there's stuff for bigger studios. In my opinion, it feels like that's stuff for bigger studios. I'm not using it very much, but perhaps even for like a solo build, if I ever need to build from source or something, it's going to be faster. And there's optimizations. I don't know that much about it. That's going into optimal. This is like system optimization level stuff for me. Next up is going to be Metasounds. I'm going to put that under OK. It's not a system. Metasounds isn't a system I'm using at all at the moment. I do really like it. I played with it a little bit. There was a while I was making car stuff, and I was like, oh, I watched some tutorials on generating the engine sounds procedurally and modifying them using Metasounds. That's really cool. I do have a project where I'm building really detailed camera parts and like clicking them together, and they slide. So it's like, maybe I can procedurally generate the sounds using Metasounds, but surely once I record those sounds, then I would probably be using Metasounds to play them and adjust their like pitch and their volume and their fall off. So I'm actually going to bump this up to maybe optimal, maybe top of C. I'm going to go top of C tier. I'm not using it like right now, but it is a feature that I probably will in the future. Moving on, we're going to look at some more audio subtitle settings. I'm going to put that under D. I thought it was worth talking about that. It's cool that they're going to have maybe some auto, like, I don't know if there's AI, we don't say AI here, but maybe there's some like auto subtitling features that can come, like if it's playing audio, Unreal Engine will just like you can just have a UMG that's like put subtitle here. That would be cool. I'm not using it at the moment, but I thought that was a cool feature. Kind of like how like you're editing DCCs, is that what they call them? You're editing NLEs. You can kind of now use AI to just like auto subtitle it, like you could in like Instagram or something. It'd be cool if there was something like that for Unreal Engine 2. I'm not using it, it's going D tier, but overall that does sound kind of cool. Next up is optimized device profiles, and that's gonna go again under B tier for optimized stuff. Better performance, defaults for like, I look at this and like say I'm making a new iOS project, you have to be like, oh, this is for mobile, and it's gonna set all the CVARs and all the, the texture limits and stuff like that. They've better optimized these based on, from what I read, based on Fortnite. So better optimized, device profiles, that's better for, performance overall, and just getting your project started and getting it performant right out of the gate. This is good stuff, that's going B tier for me. Moving on is OpenXR. I'm gonna put this under okay. I'm not currently using any OpenXR in my projects. One of my games is technically VR compatible, but it's not using the OpenXR framework. It's like some old school Steam VR style VR implementation, 4.27. However, I am interested in the Apple Vision Pro and Unreal Engine 5. I saw that the very few, but very cool Apple Vision Pro developers that use UE5, very happy about some of the updates that are happening, so shout out Victor Brodin and the XR team. I would love to get an Apple Vision Pro and develop apps for the film industry with it, but I don't have one, and I don't know that many filmmakers that have it either. However, I love new technology, so OpenXR, it's going under okay. Even though I'm not currently using it, it's something that like I would like to be using. So after OpenXR stuff is some mobile rendering stuff. I'm gonna add this under B for optimal. I do have one project that isn't iOS, and I want to do more than iOS. It's just like I haven't like quite gotten to the finish line where like Apple will actually let me publish it. They're a little bit picky compared to Steam, but it looks like there's some iOS rendering feature updates. Looks like ambient occlusion. That is cool. And I feel like I keep seeing that like, Nanite, Lumen, etc., that's going to be kind of like experimental sooner. It is now that we would have that type of feature on mobile. You'd have to have like an iPad Pro, like the latest generation probably, to have that run performantly. But iOS specifically is something that I am still dabbling with. I still haven't pushed any public builds yet, but iOS, love to see upgrades there, so B tier. Coming up here is some motion graphic stuff. This is gonna go under C. I'm not currently using it, so technically it should be D in my rating. But the motion graphics kit is very cool looking, and I've wanted to start to use it for like kind of like a live show where I could like trigger effects, and it's like, the motion graphics are being run out of Unreal Engine. I can trigger from like a Stream Deck or something like that. So it's in there with kind of like OpenXR, honestly, with Apple Vision Pro. It's a feature I like wanna get into and engage more with. I've seen like incredibly cool clips from it. It's used in like, live broadcast shows all the time. It's just not something I've had time to deal with yet. There's so many different parts of the engine. I want to do all of them. Motion graphics is cool, I like it, but it's going to C because I just really haven't had time to use it yet. Moving on, we're looking at some interchange framework. This is going to go under B, optimal. If you haven't noticed, when you import files into Unreal Engine, every update, it looks a little bit different, the screen. And that's because I would say that high-end studios need to be able to customize how they import assets into the engine. So this is sort of a way that like bigger studios can customize what happens on file import. And the way that it affects me is that in one of my apps, we're doing runtime. So while the game is playing, we're trying to import GLTF files or USD files or FBX files. I've had to use third-party plugins. I still use third-party plugins to do that, but it has been part of the roadmap and feature set, and it is in there. It's just like almost working. Sometimes I haven't tried the latest one. Is that you will be able to natively, with just Unreal Engine and the new Exchange pipeline or plugin or whatever, that you'd be able to do runtime importing, and the engine just handles all of that. So if you're like, using the editor or it's a compiled app, that you'd be able to do that seamlessly and have full control over like, oh, there's these textures, where do they pipe into the texture, into the materials, etc. Having control over that in engine, B tier, that's great, optimal. Love to see stuff that's just built into the engine, less plugins needed for me. Moving on, we're looking at the, this is a big one. So we have the Mover plugin. So to my understanding, the Mover plugin, let me go to the thing. I might have this wrong, but the Mover plugin, to my understanding, is supposed to be the successor to the movement component that is part of like the third-person blueprints, the first-person blueprint templates. This is the thing that's supposed to take over that, and it's hopefully easier to extend, I believe, was one of the main goals, and it probably has more features, it's better for networking and that sort of thing, so that's a big deal. I haven't been using it, or like trying to use it in like it's a kind of experimental state or beta state, wherever it's in, because I just use the old character movement component. That's what I'm used to, but knowing that eventually maybe this completely replaces it, this is up there that I should make a couple projects, have them run around. Maybe the motion sample project will start using this if it's not already. The motion matching sample anyway. And it's like, this is something kind of looming in the background that I know that like one of these core pillars of Unreal Engine, the character movement component, is getting updated, and that's what this is, I think. Okay, so starting to wrap this up here, we only have like a bunch more here, a handful more. We have the state tree UX change. I saw a couple people talking about this. I don't have a lot of like AI pawns walking around, but I know that there's been a lot of updates to the systems that control that, the kind of like the logic trees for like AI systems, and I saw some new UI for it. Looks great. The the UI for all the subsystems are really getting updated and with new features. Like everything kind of looks like PCG and Metasounds now, so that's pretty exciting. I'm not currently using it, but I'm going to throw that under optimal. There is a project I'm doing where I might be using the AI state tree of like, oh, should I go over there? Should I sit down? Like, you know, stuff like that. That is cool to see. To me, that is a very core part of the engine that I engage with. So going under B for optimal, not quite using it right now, but excited to see updates to that system overall. Next is Chaos Cloth, and that's going right up to the S tier. I really like making metahuman clothing, and they've been doing some like real cooking on the Chaos Cloth section. I'm not going to say much more than that, but again, anything metahuman, even like related to metahumans, that's going to go straight to the S tier for me. Love me some Chaos Cloth. Next is Chaos Flesh. However, this is a system that I do not engage with at the moment because D for dumb tier, I am too dumb to use it. This seems kind of high end. I picture like, you know, flesh simulation with like fur on top of it. That this is stuff for like, you know, rhythm and hues and like ILM doing creatures. It's a little too high end for me. I'm not doing anything with Chaos Flesh. But so it's going in D because I'm not really using it, but it would be cool to see how maybe that would affect metahumans in the future. Who knows? Moving on to some more chaos, lots and lots of chaos. Chaos Destruction. I'm going to put this under okay. And I'm not using Chaos Destruction. I have to look a little bit more into it. But there would be some cool stuff if you can like kind of procedurally like, you know, Voronoi a mesh and it just like, you know, chaos like crumbles to the ground. I could see some cool stuff for CamOps Simulator where like, you know, stuff's blowing up in the background and we're filming it and it just makes the scene a little bit more alive and dynamic. I could see it. I've never used it. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to put it under C of things that I wish I was using, but I'm not currently. So even more chaos next. We have Chaos Hair. And I don't know where to put this because I don't know what Chaos Hair is. That's not Grooms, is it? Do we use Chaos Hair with metahumans? I'm not sure. I'm going to put it under, need to learn more about it, Chaos Hair. From what I read, yeah, I'm reading the description about it, and it seems like there's going to be a whole chaos system dedicated to hair and grooms. I just don't know anything about that. Is that what metahumans are using right now? I'm not sure. If it's metahumans, it's S tier. If it's not metahumans, then it's, you know, going to be where I put it. Okay, next up are some big UI changes that are coming to Unreal Engine. These are going under optimal. These are kind of like system settings for me. There's a new toolbar that's like a lot more minimal that I've seen in Unreal Engine. You know, change is scary. I know there's going to be mixed reactions. Like what happened to the old toolbar, you know, for like, you know, move, scale, and rotate. But they're trying to make it smaller, more compact. So, you know, we'll give it a shot. And there's some updates to Content Browser because we got a lot of assets. And there's just new ways of sorting and finding them. You know, all that stuff is good. It'll take a little while to get used to visually, like, oh, this is how the new Content Browser looks. But hey, new features, new quality of life stuff for the editor. Overall, the UI, we like that. That's just going to go under optimal for me. Next, I'm going to take H.264 movie support and put that under daily. I'm not like excited about it, but I think if I'm reading this correctly, let's go to the note. Looking at the note, this comes from Ryan Maeda. Shout out, what's going on? that now out of Movie Render Queue, we can actually export H.264 movies and just directly start editing them. And we can also export Apple ProRes if you're on Mac OS. Imagine using Unreal Engine on Mac OS. So H.264, I would be using this like kind of daily. Anytime I'm going to pump a render out of Movie Render Queue, I don't usually want frames. I know that's the VFX way of doing it, like single frames. I just need a movie file so I can just plop it on the internet and just make a quick video with it. So for me, I would appreciate being able to export just straight, movie files, MP4 files in H.264. So I'm happy about that. I know for like the VFX people, that's probably not a huge deal, but again, if I was working on Mac, I'd probably also just want to pump out a ProRes file and just get on with it. So I'm pretty happy with that. Anytime I'm rendering out of Unreal Engine now with this feature, it's probably going to just be to an MP4. And saving the best for last, at least for me, we have the Capture Manager Insta S tier here. And I got to scroll down on my thing, and we have the Mocap Manager also S tier. So the Mocap Manager might be one of the biggest changes for me and daily and S tier hype, because I do a decent amount of Vicon motion capture. And these days, ever since 5.4, I've been doing all the retargeting from Vicon to MetaHuman completely in Engine. So this touches on kind of all of those things. There's updates to retargeting, interested to see how that's going to go. And there's a whole new Mocap Manager that I haven't used to pipe that data in and record it. So they're just really trying to make it so that Unreal Engine is like a really great hub and app for recording, retargeting, and doing motion capture, and for me specifically with MetaHuman. So that is one of like the biggest features for me. Okay, so that is the final tier list here. I'm just gonna do some resorting left to right here. We're gonna put Mocap Manager pretty high up there. Any of the MetaHuman stuff is extremely high. Retargeting, MetaHuman Control Rig, Rig Locomotion. I think the Capture Manager has to deal with this as well. And then Chaos Cloth around, pretty similar to Control Rig. So yeah, it's gonna be like mocap stuff into MetaHumans and retargeting, depth of field to put down here, MetaHumans and retargeting, Chaos Cloth, Control Rig Physics for my camera rigs, Rig Locomotor just for the hype because I just think it's just really cool, and depth of field definitely gonna be using that, so I feel like that's right. Motion capture for the face, I might have to put this a little bit higher. I lied. This is going up there with mocap. It's a mocap MetaHuman thing. I was wrong to ever put it lower than S tier. It's S tier. Motion trails, mocap editing, mover plugin. I'm going to move this higher. So again, exporting H.264, going to be using that all the time. Motion trails, motion capture cleanup, mutable. Probably should be using that and should be looking at the mover plugin. It's going to replace the movement component someday. Updates to performance on Lumen, shadow maps, really good. A lot of UI stuff, performance. I think that's about right. And then looking at the lower tiers here, these are things that, like, again, I don't currently use. I kind of want to though. So we have meta sounds, first person, gameplay cinematics and cameras, procedural graph, OpenXR, MoGraph, and chaos stuff. There's just like so much stuff to look at. And then, not that they're bad, but these are things like I'm not using and probably not going to use for a while. Again, heterogeneous volumes, substrate, morph targets, geometry crash, open world stuff, audio subtitles, and chaos flesh. So yeah, I feel like this is a pretty good rating as far as, again, what I'm using as a developer, what I think is interested in, what I want to go do, what I know I'm going to be using like every day. And I don't know what compelled me to make this. I'm kind of just like getting back into making content. I got this new DJI Mic 2, kind of playing around in my studio, going to get back into mocap. So I wanted to just make this. This is something I kind of go do on my own, and just wanted to share it. And would love to hear anyone else's thoughts on features that I missed or overlooked, and what features are you looking forward to Unreal Engine 5.6? That wraps it for this video. I am going to be at Unreal Fest in Orlando. If you're going to be there and you see me, I'm going to be vlogging. If you see me vlogging with a camera and being cringy, feel free to say hi. Love to talk Unreal Engine, and I'll see you on the next one.